Free audio post-production by Alphonic.com.
Do you know what it means to be a motherless daughter? Did you know you can have mother loss without mother death? Mother loss comes in many forms, and Motherless Daughters Ministry is here to help you navigate through your particular mother loss. While you are unique, you are definitely not alone. We have 20 years worth of pearls of wisdom to help you on your mother loss journey. And we are sharing all of these pearls with you through this very podcast, Nurturing Words, Voices of Experience, sponsored lovingly by Motherless Daughters Ministry.
Hello, I'm Gladys Bell, your host. If you're new to our podcast, welcome. We are so pleased you found us. We are a nonprofit ministry focused on serving women who have lost or missed the loving care of a mother. You can find out more information about our ministry through the links in our show notes. If you're a returning listener, we'd like to say thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We hope you're encouraged by our episodes. If you enjoy them, won't you take a moment to rate and review our programming on whatever platform you use? This simple task helps make sure our podcast reaches those who can use an encouraging word. Also, if you would like to support our podcast and ministry, check out the show notes for ways to donate and become involved. Before we get started with today's episode, let me highlight some new developments in the ministry. We have offered one-on-one coaching now for a while, but we recently added some new specialized options. We have offerings for recent loss, mother loss by suicide, daughters of narcissistic mothers, forgiveness, life skills, and more. Check our show notes for more information about coaching. In today's episode, we reflect on the importance of emotional connection and presence. This is a great episode to share with others in your life who might not be a motherless daughter themselves, but perhaps have a motherless daughter in their life. We start with a powerful analogy of how the aftermath of a storm can be a lot like navigating grief. Then we focus more on the important part of that aftermath, finding community and seeking presence from others. Sometimes what we really need is someone to listen and show up emotionally. Life can change in an instant. One moment, the sky is clear and calm. The next, dark clouds gather and the winds begin to howl. Before you know it, a storm has descended, bringing chaos and destruction. Tornadoes strike with a force that leaves behind broken homes, shattered lives, and a path of devastation that takes months, sometimes years, to recover from. Grief is much the same. The loss of a loved one can hit just as suddenly and powerfully. Even if you know the loss is coming, the impact still knocks you off your feet. The emotional destruction is just as real as the physical wreckage left by a tornado. Both are powerful, unpredictable, and life-altering. And just as a tornado forever changes the landscape of a town, grief changes the landscape of a heart. For those who have experienced deep loss, the parallels between a storm and grief are unmistakable. Both leave you searching for shelter, struggling to rebuild, and wondering if life will ever feel normal again. But as with a storm, there is hope. In time, healing happens, not by erasing what was lost, but by finding new ways to live and grow despite the devastation. The sudden impact, the moment everything changes. A tornado can strike with little or no warning. Even with modern technology, storm trackers may only provide a few minutes' notice before the winds arrive. The world can go from peaceful to perilous in the blink of an eye. Loss often comes the same way. Whether sudden or expected, it never truly prepares you for the moment when your loved one is gone and when a long illness foreshadows the inevitable. The finality. Even when long illness foreshadows the inevitable, the finality of loss still feels like a punch in the gut. One day, your world is intact. The next, it's shattered. The first moments after loss feel surreal, like standing in the eye of a storm. There's a strange stillness, a sense that time has stopped. You may feel numb, unable to comprehend the enormity of what has happened. Just as a tornado survivor might step outside to see their neighborhood in ruins, grief leaves you standing in the wreckage of the life you once knew. Some people respond to the impact by going into survival mode, doing what must be done, making funeral arrangements, comforting others. Others collapse under the weight of sorrow, feeling paralyzed by the enormity of the loss. There's no right or wrong way to respond, just as there's no single way to react to a natural disaster. But no matter how you experience it, one thing is certain: nothing will ever be the same again. The aftermath, picking up the pieces. In the days, weeks, and months following a tornado, the destruction becomes fully visible. Broken homes, uprooted trees, and shattered lives create a landscape of loss. The hardest part is knowing where to begin. Grief works the same way. In the immediate aftermath of the loss, you may feel disoriented, like you're standing in the middle of emotional rubble. Everything that once felt stable is now in question. Relationships shift, routines are disrupted, and even your sense of self may feel shaken. For tornado survivors, recovery begins with small steps. They salvage what they can, lean on each other for support, and slowly start the rebuilding process. In grief, the process is similar. At first, you may only have the strength to get through one moment at a time. Simple tasks, getting out of bed, eating a meal, making a phone call, can feel overwhelming. Just as a tornado leaves behind visible reminders of its presence, grief lingers in everyday life. A favorite chair, a familiar scent, a birthday on the calendar. Each one becomes a painful reminder of what's missing. The empty spaces left behind are not just physical, but emotional. But just as survivors of a storm gradually begin to rebuild, so too do those who grieve. Slowly, they learn to carry their loss in a way that allows them to move forward without forgetting what was lost. Unpredictable waves of emotion. Even after a tornado has passed, its effects remain. The wind may have died down, but the damage is still there. Rain seeps through broken roofs. Aftershocks of destruction linger, and survivors remain on edge. Grief is equally unpredictable. Just when you think you're making progress, an unexpected reminder can send you spiraling back into sorrow. A song on the radio, a familiar scent, a holiday, all can trigger a wave of emotion that feels as fresh as the day of the loss. In some cases, grief can feel even harder to navigate than a natural disaster because its timeline is unknown. A town hit by a tornado can eventually measure progress. Debris is cleared, homes are rebuilt, but grief doesn't follow a neat timeline. Some days you may feel fine. Other days, the pain returns as if no time has passed at all. It's important to remember that just as weather patterns shift, so does grief. There will be calm days and stormy ones, moments of peace and sudden downpours of emotion. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning to ride out the waves, knowing that the storm won't last forever. Finding shelter, the importance of support. In a tornado, seeking shelter is essential for survival. Those who take cover in basements or sturdy structures are more likely to make it through the storm unharmed. Grief requires the same kind of protection. No one should have to weather the storm of loss alone. We at the Motherless Daughters Ministry will always walk with you. Finding shelter, whether in faith, family, friends, or a support group, can make the difference between feeling completely lost and finding a path forward. Unfortunately, many grieving individuals feel pressure to, quote, be strong, unquote, or, quote, move on, unquote, before they're ready. Society often expects people to grieve quickly and quietly, much like how communities rush to clean up after a disaster. But true healing takes time. Having a support system that acknowledges and respects that time is crucial. Just as communities come together to help each other after a tornado, those who grieve need compassionate people who will sit with them in their sorrow. Sometimes the best support doesn't come in words, but in presence. Just knowing someone is there can provide comfort in the darkest moments. Rebuilding with hope. After a tornado, survivors don't simply rebuild what was lost. They create something new. Though the landscape is forever changed, new homes rise, trees are replanted, and life begins again. The same is true for those who grieve. Life after loss is not about returning to what was. It's about learning to live in a new way, carrying the love and memories forward. This doesn't mean the pain disappears. Just as scars remain after a storm, grief leaves permanent marks on the heart. But over time, the wounds become part of the story rather than the entire story. Grief transforms us. It deepens our understanding of love, strengthens our ability to empathize, and reminds us of the resilience of the human heart. Like a town rebuilt after a storm, we find new ways to grow, not despite the loss, but because of it. Finding meaning in the storm. No one would ever wish for a tornado to strike. No one asks for grief. Yet in both, there is an opportunity not to erase the past, but to honor it. For some, rebuilding means finding ways to carry on their loved one's legacy, whether through acts of kindness, shared traditions, or simply holding their memory close. Others find solace in helping those who are also grieving, offering support, just as they once received it. The storm may have changed the landscape, but it does not erase the beauty that was once there. In time, life grows again, even in the places where the winds once howled the loudest. If you are grieving, know this: the storm will pass, the sun will shine again, and though your heart may always carry the marks of loss, it will also carry the love that remains. Now we're going to take a moment and share with you something we're really excited about.
Hi, I'm Daniela Najoli, Director of the Motherless Daughters Ministry. Our Connection and Conversation Circles is the newest part of our holistic empowerment section of the ministry. The circles bring together women from across the country and from around the world to build community, find a sense of belonging beyond our support groups, and to share their journeys with other women who truly understand. We just wrapped up a powerful 4-week session where hearts were opened, new bonds were formed, and healing took root. So many daughters have found comfort, gained so much clarity, and made many connections in this space. And now it's your turn. Not quite sure if the Connection and Conversation Circles are for you? Here's what other participants had to say. This was a wonderful and comforting opportunity, and I believe this group will be continuing on its own. I really like the way we opened with prayer and acknowledged that there is a God who cares about our grief. I appreciate how we could share our thoughts with others in the group and how they affirm our experiences. I appreciated the confidentiality piece. It was nice to be anonymous. I didn't have to filter anything. The quality of group leaders who also experienced mother loss, connections within the group, and learning from one another. So we invite you to register today for our next Connection and Conversation Circle at motherlessdaughtersministry.com. Click the What We Offer link at the top of the website and scroll down to our Holistic Empowerment section to find our latest Connection and Conversation Circle offerings. Come as you are, and remember, you are not alone.
Now, before we leave you, here are a few reflections on today's podcast.
I don't know about where you live, but where I live, it's been a really rainy and stormy summer. Perhaps I've noticed a bit more because my oldest son is at a stage in life where he is terrified of storms. A tornado hit about a mile from us early this summer, which definitely kicked up his fear a notch. I've spent a lot of time this summer discussing weather predictions and trying to soothe his fear as he scans the sky for clouds. So this post today by Mary Ellen caught my attention. Mary Ellen's imagery and comparison of a storm to grief is a powerful analogy. There are so many different things we could unpack from her post, but the part that stood out to me was about seeking support. After the tornado that happened in our community this summer, there were tons of calls for support. A GoFundMe for a business that was damaged, calls for clothes and supplies for people who lost so much. People offering equipment and labor to help clear brush and debris. After a while, though, things sort of returned to normal for most in the community. There were a lot of calls for help at first, but then, as it does, time went on. But for those who lost so much, their grief and pain didn't just move on. Grief when losing someone is a lot like that too. Maybe when someone passes away, there are a lot of calls and offers for help when it first happens. But inevitably, people get busy and things move on. People aren't necessarily understanding or thinking about your grief and loss as the memory of the funeral fades away. But your grief doesn't. Community with others who get the pain is so vital. People who understand how years later it can hit you in a way that feels just as fresh and recent. This makes me think of one of the most tender verses in Scripture, John 11:35, Jesus wept. 2 simple words, yet they hold a universe of empathy and love. Jesus, fully divine and fully human, knew Lazarus would rise again. Yet, he chose to enter into the grief of Mary and Martha. He wept with them, not because he was powerless, but because he loved them. This teaches us something profound. We don't have to have the answers to show up. We just have to be present. Sometimes the most fitting word is actually silence, wrapped in your presence and carried by compassion. Emotional presence is not passive. It's deeply active. It means we choose to pause, to listen with our hearts, and to feel what the other is feeling. Romans 12:15 urges us to rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. That's not just good advice, it's spiritual practice. It's the way of Jesus. And here's the unexpected grace. When we offer this kind of presence to someone else, we are transformed too. In choosing empathy over efficiency, you can discover what it means to love like Christ. This is why our ministry thinks it is so important to build community. Community with women who get it. Women who have lost a mother and know that grief doesn't fit a nice timetable of recovery. We also have women who've experienced emotional absence or narcissism and know the invisible grief of never having that nurturing care or trying to navigate an estrangement or difficult boundaries, things that others might not necessarily see that you are going through. We know that healing needs sisters who are there to show up for us, to hear us, and to truly get it. Presence may not change your circumstance, but it can change our hearts, and that is often the miracle we most need. If this sort of support and sisterhood is something you need, we would love to hear from you. We have many different options of courses, support groups, and resources to help. But sometimes navigating all of that still feels like a lot. We would love for you to schedule a free 15-minute consultation and just have someone who is ready and willing to help you figure out next steps for building that community and finding the supportive presence that can mean so much in your journey.
Thank you for joining us on today's podcast. If you are in need of more nurturing words and voices of experience, we encourage you to listen to our other episodes, hit subscribe, and come check out our Motherless Daughter resources on our website at motherlessdaughtersministry.com. You can also find us on our YouTube channel and in our Facebook community, Motherless Daughters Ministry. We hope you'll come visit us, and we look forward to you joining us again next time. Until then, stay well.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.